Hello everybody, my name is Ragat. Welcome back my channel Health Fitness 1047. Here is the episode new. Follow me.
All right, buckle up, everyone. Today we're doing a deep dive into something pretty shiny.
Yes, the world of high-end jewelry and natural gemstones.
We're pulling insights straight from sources, focusing on the Vietnamese market. We've been looking at, product listings from Phu Quy, a big jewelry brand there.
And also watching discussions with gemstone experts. People from Tahi Gems, VNJ Trang Suk Vit, Afong Thui LNJ. They really know their stones.
Yeah, they do. So our mission here is basically to give you the quick rundown.
What kinds of things are out there, which gemstones are notable, and importantly, how you can actually gauge quality.
Including some really cool stuff like the star effect you see in certain gems.
Exactly.
And why does this matter? Well, understanding these details, it just adds so much depth. You appreciate the artistry more. Maybe you're curious, maybe thinking of buying something.
Or just admiring an heirloom piece you might have.
Right. It helps you make informed decisions or just satisfy that curiosity. It's kind of your shortcut to getting smart about it quickly.
Without getting bogged down in, super technical jargon.
Okay, let's get into what we found. First off, Phu Quy Jewelry. Their catalog is a great starting point for the high-end gold market stuff.
Yeah, Phu Quy comes across as a really prominent brand. Wide-range gold, silver, gemstone jewelry.
And their gold selection, it covers the really pure 24K, but also 18K.
Right. And the 24K items they list, they tell a story.
Oh, definitely. They have specific things often tied to tradition or like gifting. 24K Vang Phu Quy 24K products, they call them.
Which includes?
Things like the Tante Phuc figures, that's the god of wealth.
Right.
And Phu Quy Teng items, auspicious symbols, often in a chu weight, which is a local unit.
Right, I saw that. And larger gold statues, too.
Yeah, Tung Vang Phu Quy up to 10 chi. And plain round rings, 24K wedding king. Those are the rigid necklaces and rings.
Listing things like the God of Wealth or the traditional 24K wedding pieces, it really shows that high purity gold isn't just about personal style in this market.
No, it's deeply woven into cultural practices, isn't it? Symbolism, wealth, big life moments.
Exactly. It really highlights the why behind the purchase.
Absolutely. But beyond those, culturally specific pieces, they also have loads of other stuff. 18K, 24K.
For everyday wear, special occasions.
Right. Rings, necklaces, pendants, bracelets, bangles, anklets, earrings for women.
And for men.
Rings, necklaces, pendants, bracelets. The usual suspects.
Wedding rings seem like a big focus, too. Plain bands, diamond ones.
Yep. And then moving beyond just gold, they heavily feature diamond jewelry.
Mentioning GIA-certified loose diamonds, right? And settings for both men and women.
Yeah, ring settings, bangle settings, pendants, earrings, the works. Plus, they've got their silver Phu Quy line and a whole section just for color stone jewelry.
Rings and pendants there, too.
It's a fascinating snapshot. Oh, and get this, they even have a bestsellers of the week list.
Really?
With prices.
Yeah, specific women's rings, bangles, prices listed, gives you a real-time feel for what's popular. Okay, so that gives us a good sense of the gold, the diamonds, the settings. But the other sources really dove deep into the natural gemstones themselves.
They really did. And one place kept popping up, Luc in Yên Bai Province, Vietnam.
Ah, yes, described as a gemstone land.
Or land of jade. Known specifically for ruby, sapphire, spinel, and tourmaline. High-quality stuff coming from there, apparently.
And the sheer variety of natural gemstones mentioned across all these sources.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Just list some of them.
Okay, sapphire, ruby, emerald, peridot, spinel, tourmaline, zircon, diopside, topaz, garnet, pearl, opal, diamond.
Keep going.
Jadeite, they call it Ngaki, Tanzanite, Naquang, Moissanite, Moonstone, Chemtot. It's a serious list.
It really is. And they got specific sometimes. Like, they mentioned ruby cantic and natural star sapphire together.
Right. And there was that customer's commemorative ring with a ruby cantic stone. They showed a picture.
Yeah. And finished pieces, too, like rings with star black sapphire, earrings with yellow sapphire.
Spinel got a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Pink spinel, particularly.
Why pink spinel?
They talked about its intense fire, that sparkle. Anluta rut was the phrase.
Strong fire. Okay.
Part of that is down to its clarity, its luster. They called it sixlighting, like glass-like. Lets the light bounce around really well.
Ah, makes sense.
And they also mentioned it being good for feng shui because it's so bright and luminescent.
Interesting connection. The VNJ source also listed specific examples, didn't they?
Emerald rings, ruby earrings, blue sapphire rings, just showing the range of finished products.
And garnets, they mentioned specific types.
Yes, mandarin garnet and demantoid garnet, called out as notable types within that family.
Okay, but one point about ruby really jumped out at me from the sources. About Lucian ruby.
Oh, the comparison to diamonds.
Exactly. They suggested that getting large, clean, well-cut rubies from Lucian, especially that top blood red color.
Could actually be rarer and harder than finding a diamond of a similar size.
Wow. Rarer than diamonds. That kind of flips the usual perception, doesn't it?
It does. The implication seemed to be that that specific quality, large, clean top color from that specific region is incredibly difficult to source.
So really scarce, highly prized.
That's the impression, yeah.
Fascinating. So, okay, these stones get dug up in places like Lucian.
And they're cut, polished.
It's set into jewelry,
Yeah.
rings, pendants, whatever, sometimes using settings like silver-plated with white gold, they mentioned.
Right. And one of the most, well, visually stunning things they discussed was the star effect.
Ah, the Huelensau.
Yeah.
Yes. This is where it gets really cool. How does a stone make a star?
It's pretty amazing. It's a natural thing. Tiny needle-like crystals inside the stone, often rutile, a titanium mineral grow aligned in specific directions.
Like tiny threads inside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when light hits the stone's surface, it reflects off these perfectly aligned needles.
And creates that star pattern you see floating on top.
Precisely. It's called asterism.
So it's like nature arranging tiny internal mirrors.
That's a good way to think about it. And the sources talked about different types. The most common is the 6-ray star 6-cam.
Classic star shape. Central point, 6 rays out.
Yep. But then they mentioned a 12-ray star, 12-cam.
Okay, how does that happen? More needles?
They described it as basically two 6-ray star systems littered on top of each other, originating from the exact same central point, like two sets of aligned needles, creating two stars that look like one 12-rayed star.
Huh. Complex. And then there's the double star, or star cluster, Saukep.
Yeah, that's a bit different. That's where you see two separate star patterns, but close together on the stone.
Like a mother and child star, they called it.
Sometimes, yeah, they might not originate from the exact same center point. Or sometimes the internal structure is just more complex, maybe 3 axes and needles, leading to a less defined, maybe even messy looking effect.
And how clear or bright that star is must depend on a few things.
Oh, absolutely. The stone itself, they mentioned Antitemanen, strong titanium light, probably referring to how reflective those inclusions are.
The internal structure.
Right. And the cut is crucial. You have to cut the stone, usually as a cabochon, a dome shape, oriented just right to bring the star out on top.
And the light source you use to view it matters too, I guess.
Definitely. And interestingly, they said even some rough stones from Lucian show the potential for a star before they're even cut or polished.
Wow. Nature's preview. Did they give any tips for telling natural from synthetic stars?
They did offer one observation that natural star rays are usually straight,
Okay.
whereas synthetic ones might have slightly curved rays.
We'll
but-
get an expert opinion, right?
Absolutely. They definitely stress that. It's not always easy to tell.
Okay, so moving from these amazing effects to something really practical, assessing quality, especially if you're just looking online or at a video. How do you do that?
Yeah, that's a key question. The sources made a point that, a perfect piece of jewelry requires a perfect natural stone.
Makes sense.
And they showed some really clever visual checks you can do, even remotely.
Okay, tell us. How do you check the polish, the surface finish, just from a video?
You use a light source, like a lamp, or even a bright window reflection.
Okay.
You look at how that light reflects on the stone surface. If the surface is perfectly smooth, really well polished, they called it dong, a round light source like a bulb.
Should reflect back as a perfect clear circle. No distortion.
Exactly. If the reflection is fuzzy or wavy or distorted, it means the polish isn't top-notch. The surface isn't perfectly smooth.
That's brilliant. It's like the light acts as a quality inspector.
It really does. And you use the same basic idea to check the stone's overall shape and symmetry.
How does that work? Still using the reflection.
Yep. Again, look at the reflection of a round light source across the whole stone. If the stone's overall shape, or maybe its facets, aren't perfectly symmetrical or cut quite right.
Koi kobi mok meo haikong, whether the shape is dented or misshapen.
Right. Then that round light source reflecting on it will look distorted. It won't reflect back as a perfect circle.
So like their example, if you have a teardrop cut stone, but the cut isn't symmetrical.
A round light might reflect back, looking like a lopsided teardrop or something irregular.
As one source put it, the light doesn't lie.
People might, but the light doesn't. It's a great visual cue.
Fantastic tip. Okay, what about stuff inside the stone? Inclusions.
Well, inclusions are natural. Sometimes they're seen as flaws, but sometimes they're just part of the stone's character.
Like the patterns in iridescent stones, Shaffa.
Exactly. They mention the lines or patterns, again done, in those. If the cutter is skillful, they can even look artistic, Limtha.
But the key thing is,
They need to be internal, being dongda. They shouldn't break the surface, especially not on the top facet, the main viewing surface.
because that could weaken the stone
Yeah.
or affect the polish.
Right. Surface-reaching inclusions are generally less desirable, especially if they're large or numerous.
Okay. And they also circled back to things like fire or sparkle again.
Briefly, yeah. Just noting how different stones naturally have different visual effects because of their inherent properties. Spinel has that strong fire. Iridescent stones have their play of color. It's about appreciating the stone's unique character.
And one last practical point, some sellers might offer lifetime maintenance.
Yeah, one source mentioned that as a possibility, kind of a sign of confidence in their product and workmanship.
Right. So quite a journey we've taken today.
Definitely. Into the sparkling world of Vietnamese jewelry and gemstones.
We really pulled back the curtain, looking at the range of gold from a brand like Phu Quy, seeing the market trends, the cultural weight behind some pieces.
Explored that huge variety of natural gemstones, many sourced locally in Vietnam, learning about what's valued there.
Got our heads around the science behind that amazing star effect, how it happens, the different types, 6 rays, 12 rays, double stars.
Mhm.
And then finished with some genuinely useful practical tips from these experts. How you can use light, use reflections to get a sense of a gemstone's quality even from afar.
Yeah, those visual checks for polish and symmetry are really clever.
It really adds another layer, doesn't it, to appreciating jewelry, whether it's yours or someone else's or just something you see.
Makes you look closer. Appreciate the nature and the craftsmanship.
For sure. Okay, so here's a final thought to leave you with.
Okay.
We heard from the sources that a top-quality natural ruby from a specific place like Luc Yen might be harder to find than a large diamond.
Right, that potential rarity.
So, if that's the case,
Yeah.
what does that tell us about how we usually think about value and rarity when it comes to the world's most famous gems? Something to maybe mull over next time you see something sparkly